Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin mi naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I am just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant and Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week you will meet a couple from New Zealand via South Africa who came to live in Mexico simply by pulling the name Mexico out of a hat. You're going to love Ellie and Russell. We're going to dip a little bit into the email bag, something that we really need to do for sure, and we are going to talk about my latest trip to paradise, my ninth trip from Los Angeles to Puerto Vallarta during the pandemic. We'll talk about what it's like getting the Rona when you're in paradise. That's right, you're going to hear my firsthand experience. But before we get to all of that, let's see what's happening in Puerto Vallarta this week, the 8th of February, 2022. And alert the affiliates. We're going to be going a little long here. Valentine's Day is rapidly approaching, and if you're going to be in Puerto Vallarta or anywhere along the Bahia de Banderas, around Valentine's Day, you might want to make your reservations at your favorite restaurant early. There may be some seating restrictions. You never know with these health officials. So plan accordingly, and make sure, by the way, that you save a few pesos so you can buy a bunch of flowers for your loved one. And what do you know? The double vaccinated and boosted governor of the state of Jalisco, Enrique Alfaro, announced that he has tested positive and is recovering from a case of the coronavirus. This is from GuadalajaraReporter.net. Thursday, Jalisco Governor Enrique Alfaro announced that he is COVID-19 positive shortly after taking a test when he was informed that he had been in contact with people infected with the virus. I was surprised by the news because I don't have any symptoms, Alfaro said. He confirmed that his daughter also tested positive. The governor said that he will continue with his work remotely and provide timely updates on his health status. And here is a report from the Vallarta Today, dated January 21st, 2022. Surprised and without symptoms, the governor of Jalisco, Enrique Alfaro, expressed himself this Thursday when, through a message on his social networks, he informed the Jalisco Society that he had tested positive for COVID-19 after learning that some of his closest collaborators had been infected. Yesterday afternoon, I was confirmed of some cases of very close co-workers with whom I was in contact in recent days that came out positive. And so I took a test yesterday afternoon, evening, of which I got the results early today. And I want to inform you that I came out positive for COVID. The truth is that I was surprised by the news because I have no symptoms. I'm fine. In fact, I had just taken a test last Friday, and it had come out negative in the meeting that we had of the entire cabinet. And I have a link to that Vallarta Today article as well as that GuadalajaraReporter.net article in the show notes. I actually listened to Alfaro give his announcement live, and he sounded congested, just like he was suffering from a cold. What do you know? Anyway, you can find those links over at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. And it also seems that the twice-jabbed and once-boosted Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, just tested positive for the coof. Man, these rare breakthrough cases are going through the roof, aren't they? Turtle Camp, Vallarta's sea turtle rescue, known as Campamento Tortuga Boca de Tomates, saving sea turtles in Puerto Vallarta, is looking for baby turtle huggers to adopt nests of sea turtles. These sea turtles are incubating currently at the camp, and for a donation to the camp, you can sponsor a nest of these cute little baby sea turtles. And I have a link to Campamento Tortuga Boca de Tomates, Saving Sea Turtles in Puerto Vallarta's Facebook page. I have them right there in the show notes. So if you plan to be in town, make sure that you check their page just to see if they are planning on having a turtle release. And if they aren't, you know that you can donate and support them by sponsoring a nest. The Vallarta Botanical Garden is having a bird and nature festival coming up pretty quickly here, the 25th, 26th, and 27th of February. I will read what they say here. It says, the Bay Banderas is always full of colorful birds, friendly people, and plenty of birders. Throw in a few tacos here and there, and you got a fiesta. Bring a pair of binoculars, your camera, and head up to the party over at the garden. And speaking of binoculars, it is whale watching season. They are out on the bay. There's plenty of activity out there, so point your binoculars seaward and see what you can see, or take a whale watching tour. Get out there on the water. It's beautiful right now. As a matter of fact, JR has one or two of those whale watching tours over at vallartainfo.com. So if you are in need of a tour, go over there and pick one out. If you remember, a couple months back, we had Lisa and Billy from RISE. That's RISE stands for Refugio Infantil Santa Esperanza. And RISE is a home for children who are at risk. It is up in the Benito Juarez Colonia in Puerto Vallarta. And they came on the show a couple weeks back, and they were talking about a talent contest and a fundraiser called So You Think You Can Rise. You remember that? I hope you do. And this is a major fundraiser for the orphanage. Let me read the latest here from Lisa. Lisa says, So You Think You Can Rise, the first annual Variety PV Talent Contest. We have our third finalist for the grand finale at Teatro Vallarta on February the 20th at 7:30 p.m. We welcome Tay, a 19-year-old singer with an incredible range of songs. She's small but mighty. And then join the fun. Come select the next finalist in round 4 this Sunday at the Palm Cabaret at 3 p.m. Each round is packed with great talent, and it's hard to choose. Round 4 contestants are going to be a magician, an 11-year-old solo pop singer. Let's see. Round 4 contestants are going to be Mauricio Andre, a magician, Lilith Grace, an 11-year-old solo pop singer, Kathleen Naomi Atkins, we know her from the from Licks, comedic performer and actress, Edgar Zavala, a regional Mexican singer, Moises Chama, a solo singer, Spanish pop songs, Ellen Ram, a solo singer who is a unique vocalist, and Eyes on Earth, a soulful music group. Can't make it this Sunday. Round 5 is around the corner, so get your tickets now, and don't forget to buy your grand finale tickets so you don't miss the chance to be part of selecting the next PV superstar. And by doing this, of course, you're supporting the kids at Rise and live entertainment in Puerto Vallarta. I have information on buying tickets as well as that grand finale, which is going to be happening over at Teatro Vallarta on February the 20th at 7:30 p.m. So I'll have all that in the show notes. Make sure you take a look at that. And by the way, when Billy and Lisa were planning the fundraiser, we got together one night, had a little dinner, and they asked if I would do them a favor, and as a little promotion, if I would agree to interview certain businesses and individuals who pledged a certain amount of money to be sponsors for the fundraiser for Rise, and then maybe I could feature them in future podcasts. And of course, I thought that was a great idea. And of course, I said, yes, I'll do anything for those guys. So as a result, over the last, last couple trips down, I've had an opportunity to interview some really interesting people. I had a great interview with Stephanie Watts, who is over at El Granero and Los Muertos Brewing. Now, we met her husband, Connor, on many occasions, a couple occasions, I should say, on this show. But Connor said, Barry, I'd love to talk to you again, but how would you like to interview Stephanie, my wife? And I said, sure. And anyway, I was surprised that Stephanie has a business actually aside from the brewery and the restaurant. And her business is matching up upscale properties and villas and really nice homes around Mexico and around the Bay with vacationers. And, she puts together these events, wedding stuff, and I mean, it's amazing. So anyway, we're going to be hearing from Stephanie in a couple weeks, and you're going to really love her. She's really great. I also spoke with a lovely lady, Georgia Darshori, and Georgia is from Casa Karma up in Conchas Chinas, and she is a very lovely lady, and the property is absolutely stunning, and you will be meeting this very, very interesting lady, Georgia, in a week or two. And speaking of South Africans, remember, we're going to be meeting a few South Africans a little bit later, Ellie and Russell. But I met another South African. His name is Alec Wilson, and he's up in Bucerias at a art gallery called Artsy Gallery. And it's a beautiful gallery. And, Alec is a pretty interesting guy. So we're going to learn a little bit about Bucerias and about a nice little gallery from Alec in a few weeks as well. I spoke with a realtor named Barry Ewert, and also his associate, Karine. There was Century 21 Riviera Realty, and we spoke at length about buying and selling real estate in Puerto Vallarta. I got a chance to sit down with them up at El Rio Barbecue, so we're going to be talking with them real soon. And I sat down with Freddie Garcia from Freddie's Toucan. Of course, we've interviewed Freddie before, but that was a long time ago. And, we know that he's got the place over in the Romantic Zone, and now he's got a new spot over in Fluvial. And it's beautiful. I went and visited over there and spoke with Freddie. It's just lovely. They've got an upstairs banquet room, too. The old location has actually haven't been there in a while. It has been updated, and Freddie has really gone 21st century. So anyway, it's been years since we spoke, and we're going to be talking with him in the coming weeks. And today you are going to be hearing from Eddie Rodriguez from American English Tree. We've had Eddie on the show before. But we're just going to catch up with him right now, see what is happening with American English Tree. Remember, all of these people that I've just been talking about are all folks who are sponsors for the Rise event. So I just wanted to mention them because the finals are coming up really soon, of course, on the 20th. And I just wanted to let you know all about that. So let's go right now to Cacao Magico, one of Puerto Vallarta's sweetest spots over at Puerto Mágico, over at the port where the cruise ships come in, over in Puerto Vallarta. We're going to visit with Eddie Rodriguez, teaching English to Mexicans and Spanish to English speakers at American English Tree in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Take it away, Eddie. Eddie, muchísimas gracias para haciendo una otra vez.
Barry, muchas gracias por tu invitación otra vez.
All right. So, hey, remind my listeners what you do.
My name's Eddie Rodriguez, and I'm the founder and director of American English Tree. American English Tree is a school that started teaching English to locals, and as time went on, we started teaching Spanish to foreigners. And what we did is we developed a program, a very good win-win program, that for every person that signs up to study Spanish, that same tuition that you're paying to learn Spanish also sponsors a child to learn English at 100%. So that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years. And due to COVID, we had a little bit of a hard time. But now that everything's going back to normal and people are coming back, a lot of people are signing up. We're sponsoring quite a few kids.
All right, yeah. Now, you were just showing me a picture of a group of kids. How many kids are you sponsoring right now?
Right now, we just connected with Club Vallarta up in the mountains, and it's a club. It's sort of like a YMCA club.
Okay.
They provide a lot of activities for the kids. And we come in, American English Tree comes in to provide free English for them. And we went up there expecting to register maybe 20, 30 kids. 97 kids showed up.
Oh, wow.
97 kids. So we registered 97 kids. And because we ran out of space, we have a waiting list of roughly another 50 kids that are waiting to start in January. So technically, we're going to have about 150 kids that we could be sponsoring in January.
That is unbelievable. So that means that you're teaching Spanish to a lot of people now,
Yes.
aren't you?
I'm teaching Spanish here in Puerto Vallarta in different areas, in Old Town, in Versalles. I'm also teaching Spanish in Bucerias. And whoever signs up, I tell them, you know what, thank you for helping us because you're helping us change lives and you're helping us teach English to kids. We're giving them a fighting chance by giving them an additional language.
Yeah, and you are one of the sponsors for Rise's big event coming up here, and I understand that you are working with kids at Rise.
Yes, we are very fortunate to also provide English to Rise, Refugio Infantil Santa Esperanza, and I'm also pretty blessed to be able to sponsor the event as well that they're having in January and February. So yes, we're very happy to do that as well.
Yeah, well, you're one of the good guys, Eddie.
Muchas gracias. Yeah, I think we all
what.
are. We all work together. We can all change lives.
Yeah, so. Like the people that the kids that you're teaching, what are the age groups? What's the youngest?
We sponsor kids from 4-year-olds all the way to high school, and we also sponsor quite a bit of adults. We work with women's shelter. We work with different organizations that help adults as well. So we're also offering scholarships to them as well.
Right.
Yeah. Although our main focus is providing kids for English, we do have about 30 adults that we're also sponsoring.
When you teach these kids English, I mean, how long are they in these classes? Are they in there for like a number of years? Are they in there for what's going on there?
We usually try to have it on a set schedule of minimum 3 hours a week, right? Sometimes they show up 1 day, 3 days a week, 1 hour a day. Or some kids show up on Saturday. Some kids show up 4 days. The 97 kids that just registered, they're showing up 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, for 1 hour. So we have different schedules and different time sets.
Yeah, and we also, I understand you are also working with the Vallarta Abuelos, too?
Yes, we're also sponsoring Vallarta Abuelos. We have like 15 of their kids at our school. They show up and they also learn in English. We're working with quite a few charities and nonprofit organizations and try to help as many people as we can. Yeah. I was very fortunate to learn English at a young age. I'm originally from Mexico City. So English has opened up a lot of doors for me, and I just want to be able to share that opportunity and that knowledge for other kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're everybody's fortunate now because they're going to your school, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are there any other changes? Any other things going on? You had the class. You have the classroom, right? You still got that going on. It sounds like you got to expand it, but anyway, that's where most of the teaching goes on, or
yes,
do you actually travel around and teach? How do you do that?
We're growing. Our school is growing, and we have to add additional classrooms because we are getting more kids. We're sponsoring more people every month, and we need to expand a little bit more. And I'm also going to different places to teach Spanish and English as well. For example, I have to go to Puerto Vallarta to teach the 97 kids English over there because there's not enough room in my school.
No, there isn't.
Yeah, and then I go. I'm teaching a Nacho Daddies. I'm teaching Spanish and Nacho Daddies. I'm also teaching a CJ Wings, and we're teaching in Bucerias. And we're teaching in Versailles Spanish. And also we teach classes on Zoom. So if you want to learn Spanish and you're not in Vallarta, you can just always contact us and we'll set up a schedule to teach you online as well.
Wow, really?
Yes, and the same tuition sponsors a child.
Wow. Okay, so you don't even have to come to Puerto Vallarta to do this, you guys. So you can actually learn Spanish, from your home before you get here.
Right, you can come here with a little bit of Spanish. That way you can start ordering a cerveza muy fría.
Right, exactly. You get everything you want just the way you want it. That's what happens when you learn how to speak Spanish. Anything else? Anything else new you want to add?
Well, no, I'm just I'm feeling very like I said, very blessed that there's so many people that are helping and so many people that are making this happen. Diagnostic and Medicis, the clinic and the hospital, they're being very helpful in helping me throw events once a year. It's called Changing Lives, and the proceeds from that event also goes to sponsoring more kids. So now that the word is getting out and people are realizing, you know what, I can learn Spanish, and at the same time, with the same tuition, I can sponsor a child, and it'll pay for their books, it'll pay for their material, it'll pay for their education, and that's like such a huge win-win. It's such a huge plus, and I'm very lucky that the word's getting out and more people are signing up and registering to study Spanish.
Well,
yeah,
yes.
And most of the kids that we're sponsoring, like for example the 97 kids, they're from 5th grade all the way to high school. Yeah, and it's very it was a very rewarding feeling to show up to the club, the Club Vallarta. And like I said, we were expecting 20, 25 kids, and to have 97 kids show up and their parents there, and their parents being very, very happy that they were given their children were given the opportunity to learn English, and it was such a huge emotional moment for us because we saw their faces and how excited they were about learning English and how excited the parents were about their children getting the opportunity to learn English.
That is so wild. That is so great, man. I'm almost in tears just listening to what you're saying there. I got to tell you, Eddie. Eddie, thank you. Thank you again for coming on the show again. I'll have all the links to that, by the way, in the show notes. You can find it at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Your website is?
American English Tree at gmail.com or americanenglishtree.com.mx.
Excellent.
So,
all right.
Muchas gracias. And we're here at Puerto Mágico, and my first time here. Beautiful place. If you guys are coming to PV, I highly recommend to come and check this place out. I'm actually blown away by it. It's very nice.
Yeah, it is. And we have to thank Dean Rager and Mitch. We're sitting in Coco Mexico right now. Got a little bit loud, but that's okay. We don't care. It's Mexico, everybody.
Yes,
come on.
We're about to try some chocolates right now.
I think so, too.
Yeah, gracias, Dean. They look really delicious.
Thank
We're going to check
Dean.
them out.
Yeah, that's right, brother.
Muchas gracias, amigo.
Thank you so much, Eddie.
Nos vemos.
All right. Thank you, Eddie. I have links to all that great information, by the way, in the show notes. And listen, learn Spanish and help a Mexican learn English and give them a big step up in life. And thank you, Eddie. Thank you very much for sponsoring the talent show and those folks over at Rise and the kids. Thanks for teaching the kids over at Rise, teaching them English and teaching those teachers, those volunteers over at Rise a little bit of Spanish. What a cool thing to do. All right, let's hit the email bag here real quick. The first one is from listener Jeff. Jeff writes, have you seen the new laws in Puerto Vallarta regarding vaccination passes? And then he sent me a link to an article which I actually was already aware of because the new laws and the rules were enacted right in the middle of my latest trip. So anyway, here is an article from the New York Post by Nathan Diller, dated January 12th, 2022. It goes, some Mexican states roll out vaccination mandates for bars and events. Travelers to popular Puerto Vallarta will soon have to follow new vaccination and test requirements for many activities ordered by the Mexican state of Jalisco. The state will require proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test result for bars, clubs, casinos, and concerts. Jalisco Governor Enrique Alfaro announced on Monday. The requirement, which will take effect Friday, also applies to other venues such as convention centers and stadiums. People over 18 will be required to show proof of full coronavirus vaccination. A negative PCR test result will remain valid for entry for 48 hours. A new rule comes as Mexico sees a surge in cases, including in Jalisco, following the holiday travel season. According to tracking data compiled by the Washington Post, as of Wednesday, Mexico reported 127 new cases per 100,000 people over the past 7 days, with a 174% week-over-week increase in daily cases. Tlaxcala, a state east of Mexico City, is implementing a similar requirement this week, requiring proof of vaccination to enter places such as supermarkets, taquerias, and hotels, making it and Jalisco the first entities in the country to establish such rules, according to Forbes Mexico. Health authorities in Baja California stopped short of that mandate, but they issued a similar recommendation last week. It said businesses such as restaurants, bars, and casinos can decide whether to ask customers for proof of vaccination or a negative PCR test. And I have a link to it, of course, in the show notes. So thank you, Jeff. Let me tell you what my experience is. Of course, I was there when this particular rule went into effect. I was never asked for a card or a QR code or whatever people carry around with them these days. That's not to say that it's not happening. In fact, when I was walking up Lázaro Cárdenas, when I was walking back to my hotel, I could see guys and gals with their phones out, outside of nightclubs and gay bars and stuff like that. So they were showing something. So it must have been happening there. But this trip, I have to be honest with you, I spent most of my meal times at taco carts and at cheap little beachside restaurants. So nothing fancy. And when I did hit a fancy place or two, it was generally just to do an interview. So nobody ever asked me for my ID or for anything like that. But I did reach out to several of my friends, about 10 of them, I would say. These are people that actually go out and eat and drink, okay? And most of them said no, that they didn't notice that people were asking over at restaurants. They said that some bars, they were having some issues at some bars. And yes, they were pretty strict at theaters and at nightclubs. But what I was told is they weren't really studying the document very closely. So let's just put it that way. As a matter of fact, I met this guy from Denver, Colorado, over at my first Airbnb, and we were all just sitting around having, talking, and he pulls out his fake vaccination card, which he offered to show me, and he handed it over to me, and it looked pretty simple to duplicate, if you ask me. Anyway, it's just printed on heavy paper, and I'm not saying that you should do this, but I'm just saying that this dude was using it to get around, that's all. So, Jeff, thank you. Thanks for your email. And as I understand it, the governor also mentioned that these new restrictions are just going to go through the 12th of February. So I'm very hopeful that this is all going to expire before Valentine's Day. I really hope it does. I'll keep an eye on that. And by the way, If any of you who are listening here, if you've gotten any pushback in Puerto Vallarta at some establishments, I mean, I don't want to shame anybody, but I just want to know what's going on. So if you'd like to report back to me, please feel free to send me an email. I mean, Vax passes just don't make me that happy. I could stay in Los Angeles if I wanted to have that. So anyway, I got another email, and I think it's a good one to share. It's from Joan, who I believe thought that she was emailing Freddie the pharmacist over at the Olas Altas Pharmacia. And she writes, "Hi, I've been doing business with you for years now, but I've never had to have a prescription renewed. When we left California, my husband was due to pick up his prescriptions. However, they were not ready when we had to leave for the plane. He takes 2 prescriptions that need to be refilled. Can you do it for us?" And then she needs something for the thyroid, levothyroxine, and Donzapil. So anyway, she says, we have his physician email you. If necessary, please email us a reply. Thank you, Joan. All right, so anyway, I thought this was a good email because she brings up something that happens to us a lot. Every once in a while, we leave home without our prescription meds, or something happens. Anyway, I answered Joan. I got back to her, so don't worry about that. But here is what I will tell you, and that is you should go to a doc in the box if you've got any of these issues. Now, what is a doc in the box? They are attached usually to a pharmacy, usually one of the bigger pharmacies, of course. They have a little office with a separate street entrance attached to the pharmacy. You sit in a waiting room until it's your turn, and then the doctor asks you what you want, and then you tell him or her, for that matter. Although I've never really seen a her doctor in a doc in the box, but I'm sure they exist. And all of them that I've ever seen or spoken with spoke at least a little English. And if the pharmacia won't let you buy a certain drug, like the last time I tried to buy some doxycycline, I went to the doc in the box, told him what I wanted, and then he wrote me a prescription so that I could just go right next door and get the doxycycline so I could put together my COVID kit. So yeah, if you run out of meds, or if you forget to bring them, just see your local doc in the box, and he will fix you up. So I hope that answers your question, Joan, and I hope that answers any of your questions, too, if you need to fill an emergency prescription. Listener Eric, I am sorry that we could not get together this time down. I just had no time. I'm sorry about that. We're going to hopefully next time, Eric, hopefully. Listener Sherry writes, I don't recall hearing a podcast about the International Friendship Club, but if you can snag an interview with Karen, I highly recommend it. She is well-spoken and will do a great job explaining the International Friendship Club. They support several local charities, including a program that helps children with cleft palates. We just took their home tour, visited 4 very different and magnificent homes that the owners graciously allow you to visit. The cost for the tour is 1,000 pesos, all of which goes to support their charities. It's money and a few hours well spent. The website is internationalfriendshipclub.org, and I put a link to the International Friendship Club in the show notes. And Shelley, I thank you. Thanks for the suggestion, and thanks for your email. And I will be contacting Karen and inviting her on the show just as soon as I can. What a great suggestion that is. And if any of you have suggestions like Sherry, make sure that you send me an email. Of course, you can do that at pvtravelshow@gmail.com. All right, I have a couple more emails, but I think I'm going to get to that later. And thanks for writing them. Keep them coming, and I'll keep reading them on the air. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my trip to Puerto Vallarta. But before I get started, let me just start right now. I'm going to be talking about medications and supplements that I took, okay? And I am in no way at all suggesting that any of you do what I did, and take whatever I took, okay? This is my story, and this is what happened to me, and this is what I did. So keep that in mind when you're listening to this. I am not telling anybody to do anything other than to listen to my story. So the last trip started the same way as it always has, the last few trips down. In fact, the last 3 trips down, I've taken a van from downtown Los Angeles down to the Mexican border, and then I've been flying out of Tijuana to Puerto Vallarta. At the border, there is a facility called Cross Border Express, or CBX, and it's built right up against the wall that separates the United States and Mexico, and it is located directly adjacent to the Tijuana airport. And from the facility over in San Diego, if you park your car, or if you drive up like I did in a van, you can visit a ticket counter from one of the 4 Mexican airlines that fly out of Tijuana. You can fill out your tourist card, your FMM card. You can buy a pass that will allow you to walk through a 380-foot long walkway that literally goes over the wall that separates the 2 countries and then drops you right into the Tijuana airport. This trip, my flight was leaving at 1 p.m., so my wife dropped me off at the downtown Los Angeles pickup spot at 5 in the morning. The ride was very comfortable. It was a big tour bus this time, not just a little van. So there were a lot of passengers that were actually flying out that morning. And I flew out on Volaris, which is a Mexican airline. It was a very uneventful flight. And when we arrived in Puerto Vallarta, as this was a domestic flight, I didn't have to go through immigration or customs in Puerto Vallarta because I had already done that already up in Tijuana when I crossed the border. My buddy Dean Rager from Puerto Mágico and Cacao Magico, he actually picked me up over at the airport because I muled down some gadget for him to use to make something really good, yummy tasting stuff. But anyway, I got a free ride, and he dropped me off over at my first Airbnb, where I stayed for the first 4 nights. And it was located right on the Malecon, just a block north of where the 3 loud nightclubs are, La Vaquita and the Zoo and Mandala. They're all there. Actually, that's where our buddy Salvador Estrada sits in his wheelchair as well. Anyway, I took a video of the place, and I will embed it into the show notes, and you can see them there. The room was clean. This was a new listing. There was absolutely no view from the room. The window faced away from the ocean and towards the street behind the block, which is Morelos, which is a busy street. That's the street where all the incoming traffic flows heading south into downtown and towards the romantic zone. Anyway, I thought it would be a very loud location, just because it was just a block away from those very loud nightclubs that are on the Malecon. But what was the loud part? What was the worst part was the fact that there were 2 karaoke bars that were facing my room on the Morelos side. So it was awful. They went until 5 in the morning. They were it was crazy, and it was crazy loud. Actually, I recorded some audio from my room, so you can listen to what it sounded like from my room at night. Listen to this. Okay. Anyway, it was a new Airbnb listing. So, what were the bonuses? The bonuses were that the bed was big and comfortable and had only been slept in maybe by one or two other people, which is a bonus. Let's see here. The shower and the bathroom were pretty nice. They were sufficient. You could walk out of the room and down the hall a couple steps and look out over the Malecon. It was located just above the Dolce Vita Italian restaurant on the Malecon, if you know where that is. Anyway, I planned ahead. I knew that it was going to be loud. I didn't know it was going to be as loud as it really was, but I brought wax earplugs, and those are the best. It blocked out everything. But man, I'll tell you what, it was crazy. I met some Swiss travelers that were there, and some cool guy, the guy from Colorado who had the fake card. We shared some stories. It was a lot of fun. But this particular trip, I did fewer interviews. I probably did about a half a dozen interviews. But what I was really doing was I was checking out some different colonias around town. I'm thinking about renting out a place or maybe even buying a place. And I just wanted to check out some other locations around town to see if there were other places that I liked better than the Romantic Zone or the Cinco de Diciembre or downtown or even up in Coloso where JR lives. So that's what I was doing. I'm also working on getting my temporary residency, but my my double vaxxed and boosted facilitator was sick with another one of these rare breakthrough cases of the Rona, go figure. So I never met with him. There's more of that pattern, I got to tell you. Anyway, so for the first 4 nights, I was at this loud Airbnb, and then moving day came, and I checked a couple of Mexican-style hotels, and I decided that I would just go ahead and check out the Airbnb and take my luggage up to JR's place, and then while I'm over there, I would decide where I was going to go. And then JR looks at me and he says, "Why don't you just stay here? I got a spare bedroom." And so I took him up on that. So the next day, I spent, running around doing interviews, and I was texting back and forth with JR that evening. But when I got up to JR's place, it was maybe 10 o'clock, maybe 10:30 or so. His landlady had actually locked the front gate. I had a key to his house, to his apartment, but I didn't have a key to the front gate. And I looked up at his apartment, and the lights were off. So I figured, well, he's probably asleep. So I needed a place to stay for the night. So I walked down to the Belmar Hotel to see if they had a room for me, which they did. And it was a little tiny 8x12 place. It was about $30 a night, 600 pesos. And so I took it. It was on the 3rd floor, a very comfortable bed, had a portable air conditioning unit, a ceiling fan, clean bathroom. I mean, what more could you ask for? By the way, I was right near the Insurgentes Bridge, and I was able to record the progress of what was going on over at the Rio Quale there, over at the bridge. It's coming along very quickly. They say that it should be done by the end of this month, and I think it will be. It might be even sooner than that. They now have both spans over the river finished, and I understand that it was just paved yesterday. So, I guess handrails are next, and then maybe we'll get this bridge inaugurated and open again, and then we can, have traffic flow in a normal fashion through Puerto Vallarta for the rest of the high season. Now, wouldn't that be nice? Anyway, I do have a video of the goings-on over there of the building of the bridge, and you can find them in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. So the next morning was Sunday, and I walked up from the Belmar to see JR, and then my double vaccinated and boosted co-host told me that he felt like he was running a fever and that he was coughing and he had a bit of a sore throat. So this sounded a little bit too familiar to me. So I gathered a couple things together, like my shaving and my bath items and my meds and an extra shirt and my laptop and another pair of pants, and then I skedaddled back down to the Belmar, where I went up to the front desk and I asked, is my room still available for the next night? The guy said yes, and I said, okay, good, because I might be here for a while. So then I actually went across the street from the Belmar to the 24-hour Pharmacia, which was right there. And I picked up one of these nebulizers of albuterol for JR, just in case. And I grabbed a baggie that I brought with me of a bunch of over-the-counter natural supplements that I had packed just in case someone I know or even myself got the Rona. And I hiked up to JR's place up in Coloso. Now, JR is not a horse medicine type of guy like me, so we went with my more natural COVID supplements. Those would be, I've got quercetin, I've got olive leaf extract, ginger extract, saffron extract, NAC, garlic extract, vitamin D3, vitamin C, zinc. So I leave all of these baggies with JR with all of these vitamin supplements, and he's rolling his eyes. I don't know. I don't even know if he took any of them. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask if he did. But I can tell you that as of yesterday, when I talked with him, he was better. And at 81 years old, JR beat the Rona, right? How about that? Anyway, that night, actually I went with a friend over to a local botanical garden for a private birthday party. It was very fancy. It was beautiful, by the way. The botanical garden is a lovely place for an evening dinner party, I got to tell you. Great food. The bar service was terrific. What can I tell you? But Monday, I woke up and I went shopping across the street over at that 24-hour pharmacy because that's discount day. Mondays are discount day for most of the big pharmacias in Puerto Vallarta. And I talked up the doc in the box next door and had him write up a prescription for doxycycline for my COVID kits that I was putting together to bring home. And then I walked next door to the pharmacia. I ordered my horse medicine, which is over the counter. I didn't have to see the doc in the box for that. It's not really for horses, okay? It's for human consumption, but and it's in pill form. It's not this paste, okay? I have to watch what I say, okay? Look what they're doing to my fellow podcaster and former Bernie bro, Joe Rogan. Anyway, I ordered up some of these horse meds and the doxycycline, and I picked up a couple of nebulizers of albuterol for my take-home COVID kits. By the way, if you want to see what the kit looks like, I actually have pictures of them in the show notes. You can find them at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. They're known as Zverdo kits, okay? They are distributed in India, so I make my own. India... you can find them in Japan now, Mexico, and many, many other countries have chosen actually to hand out medicine and early therapeutic treatment. Imagine that. To people that actually come in with symptoms of COVID, rather than like in the United States, where there is no protocol. Zero protocol for early treatment or therapies for COVID. We're talking about nothing for full 2 years, right? Except for Tylenol. Go take some Tylenol, and that's it. That is what the early treatment protocol is in the United States. And, if not, just go home. And if you feel really sick, come back to the hospital. I mean, it's criminal. It is awful. So, yes, I make these kits, and I bring them home for my family, just in case. So that's what I did early on Monday. Then I did my final interview of the trip. Did some last-minute shopping and visiting. And then I got a message from my friend who invited me to the garden party the night before, told me that the birthday boy, who was double vaxxed and boosted, had messaged her to tell her that he also had a rare breakthrough case of the Rona and that she should get tested too. Wow. Following a pattern here? So the next day, I actually needed to stop and get a COVID antigen test for the plane trip back to Tijuana. Now, if you remember a show or two back, I talked about taking an antigen COVID saliva test that they advertised at one of the Laboratorios San Pablo. And I thought, I'd give it a try as some sort of an alternative rather than have them stick a stick up my nose. So I walked down to the Laboratorio San Pablo, down in the romantic zone, and asked them if they do the saliva test. And she said, yes, they do, but they don't do them at her lab. They do them at the lab in Versailles. So I said, well, I don't want to go to Versailles. So I asked if they do the stick up the nose test, which they did. And she was very gentle, thank goodness. And then she told me that the results would be in my email box by 6 o'clock in the evening. And then the rest of the day, I spent wrapping up loose ends. I had a late lunch over at Cuates y Cuetes, and then I dropped off some pesos and some dinner to my buddy Salvador, the candy man, in the wheelchair by the crazy chairs and the loud clubs on the Malecon. And then I figured I'd swing by JR's on the way out of town, over to the airport the following morning, and I would go ahead and pick up my luggage and bring him whatever he might need to get him through the next couple of days. But when I got to the Belmar, I opened my email, and I saw that the results for my test had already come in. So I sat down to read the results, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. Positivo. So I sat back and I let that reality sink in. Got the Rona, and I am not leaving tomorrow afternoon. And right about then, I got a Facebook message from my buddies Chris and Gilbert asking if I was free for dinner. Sorry, guys. And of course, I had to pass, but I mean, I was so bummed. But in the end, you two actually lucked out, missing me. I'll tell you that much. But yeah. So I started feeling a little bit tired, and I could feel a fever actually coming on. And being the type of guy I am, and having the proper protocol for the situation, literally staring me in the face, I took the first dose of the Zerverto kit that I made up, and I chased it down with a lot of water and some vitamin C, and I got out a blanket, and I laid down in my bed, and I sweated out a fever for about 2 hours or so. And then I woke up about 4 hours later, and I felt pretty good. I mean, I had no fever. There were no symptoms of a cold whatsoever. I had no sore throat, no coughing, no runny nose, no congestion. I was just a little tired, that's all. I called my wife to break the news to her that I was not coming home tomorrow. And she wasn't surprised, because all during the trip I've been telling her, in our nightly calls, I said, everybody around me is dropping like flies. So I took a shower, And I went back to bed, hoping for the best. And in the morning, I still felt reasonably fine. I took the second dose of the antibiotic, and I took all of my backup natural medicine, of course. Now, luckily for me, the Belmar ended up being a really great place to isolate. It's a clean spot, hot water when you need it, filtered water in the room to drink, and also, lucky for me, I have friends who were very sweet and brought me some tacos the first couple nights across the street from me. From the Belmar Hotel was a 24-hour pharmacy with the doc in the box, very handy. But I also already had the drugs that I needed, so that was fine. I had plenty of weed, which was great. And of course, isolating can be a bit boring, if you can imagine. And it was a bit like Groundhog Day. I'd get up, I'd shower, I'd go downstairs, I'd ask the guy at the desk if I could stay in the room another night. He always said yes, and I always took my credit card and charged 600 pesos. It was like, cha-ching, cha-ching. It was every night, just, And I went downstairs. There was a sandwich shop right across the street from me, and the owner would take my order from the table out in front. And for the first couple mornings, I had ham and cheese croissants with egg and orange juice. And he was a sweet guy, and he took care of me for the first couple of mornings. He made good burgers too. And if you know where the Belmar is, I mean, it's just right down the street from Encanto on the south side of the bridge. And because the bridge is out, there was no traffic that was going by on Insurgentes, except for, construction crews during the day. But at night, it was very, very quiet, maybe a little quiet, maybe too quiet, a little creepy at night. But the location actually is perfect for isolating, and I had 5 days of isolation to endure. Now, the taco stands, as you know, are right around the corner from there, which is really great. And so I had my sandwich guy. There were Oxos that were close to, so it was a great spot. I went through the entire drug protocol, including the supplements that I brought along with me, and the entire time I had no cold symptoms, no stomach issues, no loss of taste, no loss of smell, just maybe a bit of brain fog, I suppose, but not bad. The second day, I got a text from JR, who asked me to bring him some soda water and some veggies from the Mercado when I was coming up to pick up the rest of my luggage. So I walked up the Rio to avoid people, and I made my way up to his place in Coloso. I stopped over at the corner market for his soda water, and when I got to his apartment, he looks at me and he says, "When are you supposed to leave?" And I said, "Well, 2 days ago, but I tested positive for the Rona. So I'm here for at least a week." And he looks at me and he says, you probably got that from me." And I said, "JR, I'm not blaming anyone. I feel fine. I just need to wait a few more days and test negative." So I grabbed my bags and I told them, "I'll be down the street at the Belmar if you need anything." Anyway, I laid very low for the first 5 days in my tiny little room at the Belmar. Day 3, I got a call from my wife. She tells me she's sick now, and she's got the Rona, so that's great. I mean, this stuff is so contagious. She caught it through the phone. Anyway, I told her where she could find the COVID kit at home, but she was just a little bit too sick to take the pills, so she needed to wait an extra day and a half, and so she didn't get as good of a head start as I did. But anyway, then she calls me and tells me that one of our dogs injured herself, and so here she is. She's taking care of the business while I'm gone. She's feeling lonely. She's overwhelmed. She's got the Rona. She's got a bad dog. Oh my God. So anyway, I felt really, really depressed. And I knew I couldn't leave without a negative test. So Day 5, I went back and I retested. But later in the day, I discovered that I was still positive. Day 7, I tried again, and the result was positive again. The lady at the lab was very nice. She says, "Now look, it could be possible that you could test positive for the next 30 days or even longer. That's how sensitive these tests are." So she says, "Why don't you make an appointment with the doctor and have him write you a note to clear you to fly," which I did. And then on that 8th day, I took that letter of recovery to the airport, and I flew out of Puerto Vallarta and into Tijuana, where I crossed the border the same way that I came, via the bridge over the wall over at the CBX, the Cross Border Express. Then I caught the bus back to Los Angeles, where my lovely wife was waiting for me with a runny nose and a big smile. And you might ask, "Barry, did you need to show the result of your test or the doctor's letter to anybody to go home?" Nope. Nobody asked. Not at the ticket counter in Puerto Vallarta, not at the Customs and Immigration checkpoint in San Diego. And as for the meds that I took, did they help? Well, maybe. Maybe it was just a mild case of the Omicron. Who knows? All I can say is that I had no residual issues, no sinus infection, no cold or flu symptoms. I was totally asymptomatic, as they say, and I was kind of hoping that the horse meds would maybe make my dick bigger, but no such luck. I mean, just think, that would add a whole new meaning to the term long COVID, wouldn't you say? That's another show. And JR, anyway, is feeling fine, and he will tell you that he's feeling fine because he's vaxxed and he's boosted. Otherwise, he'd feel a whole lot worse. And me, I can't say what JR said about that vaccination thingy, but I am feeling fine, so sorry to disappoint those of you who've been hanging around to see if I die from the coof. And my wife is feeling better too, and that's really what counts most, don't you think? So that's my story of being stuck in paradise for 8 days with the Rona. I've been so busy since I got back, catching up on 8 days of work and filling in while Debbie gets better. And really, that's why I've been so long getting another episode out. But now the big question is, will Debbie ever let me go back to Puerto Vallarta? I sure hope so. If you are interested in the protocol and the other supplements that I took, I am not promoting them, mind you. I'm just going to show you a little show and tell, okay? Anyway, I have pictures of them in the show notes at www.puertovallartatravelshow.com. Okay, let's get to our interview, shall we? My buddy John, the Canadian spicy pickle guy, who's been on the show, he's always looking out for me, and he's always introducing me to interesting places and interesting people. Anyway, he says to me, I have this very interesting couple who are from South Africa by way of New Zealand, and they arrived here by picking Mexico out of a hat. He tells me they have a very interesting story, so I said, set it up, John. And so he did. And I wandered up to Cafe Roma over on Calle Encino alongside the Rio Quale. It is a bar and a pizza place, which is located on the second floor overlooking the river. It's a very nice spot for a cold beer and a chat with a lovely couple from where the Kiwis are. So let's meet them right now, Ellie and Russel Rens, the couple who plucked Mexico from a hat.
Ellie, Russell, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks for inviting us.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And what was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta? You want to start, Russell?
Yeah. Ellie and I are originally from South Africa, born and raised. We emigrated to New Zealand about 12 years ago. We became New Zealand citizens. We settled there, built some businesses, raised our young daughters who are now in their early 20s, and we decided that at a certain point in our lives we needed to do something beyond existing day to day and working to live rather than or living to work. Get rid of that and just live. Yeah. And we decided we needed to travel the world.
Very good. All right. So, what have you been doing? What you're traveling the world? I mean, you ended up here. So, what was that path like?
While we were living in New Zealand, there's obviously a lot of Pacific Islands right around, and I think in the beginning we were looking to find our island to retire on. So we went to the majority of them. We went to Samoa and the Cook Islands, Rarotonga. We went to Fiji, Vanuatu, New Caledonia. And although they were all absolutely lovely, it wasn't our island or our tropical atmosphere that we really sought to retire in one day. And just to give you a bit of background, Russell and I got married within 4 weeks, and next year it'll be 30 years.
Wow, 30 years. And they said it wouldn't last.
Yeah, they said it actually did. And we were married for about 6 months when we decided to sell everything and go and travel. And we went to China, Hong Kong, and Australia. And we spent a year there backpacking. And we were so poor for the entire year, but there was nothing that we can remember that we wanted to do that we couldn't do. And obviously, having our children, then after that, we told them all the stories, and they decided, no, their mom and dad are hippies or gypsies or whatever. So when we came forward with the idea that we wanted to now go and travel, they didn't find that strange at all, you know. So, yeah, okay, go. You hippies, your responsibility with the kids are over now. Go ahead, go do that.
All right. So they gave you permission.
Absolutely. Look, they still tell us that they've abandoned, or we've abandoned them, you know. And we must make now care packages and all sorts of things for them, but it's tongue-in-cheek. And we probably speak to them more often now than what we did when we lived in New Zealand.
Yeah, I bet you do. I mean, I talk to my wife more than when I'm here than I do when I'm at home, that's for sure. All right, so you decided to travel, right? And so what was that path like till you finally got here?
Well, Ellie said that if we're going to travel anywhere, we need to go to someplace warm, sunny, balmy, with year-round summer, which New Zealand obviously is not. And we looked at pretty much most of the places around the equator or
on the tropics.
On the tropics, and pretty much pulled Mexico out of a hat. So.
Really?
Yep.
Just pulled it out of a hat.
Pulled it out of a hat.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. So Mexico was the country, but Puerto Vallarta doesn't sound like it was the spot.
We knew absolutely nothing about Mexico, so we started watching a lot of Mexico life and people retiring in Mexico, people buying houses, just general, as many programs as we could on Netflix and YouTube.
That show.
And we pretty much fell in love with the country, the whole vibe, the color, the culture, the food. It just seemed like such a interesting, vibrant place to be. And at that point, we didn't know where we wanted to be in Mexico. We knew that Mexico was absolutely huge with a massive population. I mean, New Zealand's only got a population of 5 million people.
Wow.
And flying to Mexico, we were limited in terms of the flights available because we left New Zealand when New Zealand was pretty much COVID-free. Okay? And we were basically told by the government, if you leave, number one, we insist that you get your vaccination, which I know is a bit of a controversial subject. But let's leave it at that. And they also said to us, if we leave, we need to know that we can't come back straight away. If there's a family emergency with our daughters or anything like that, we cannot come back because they were insistent that you'd go into managed isolation for a 2-week period, and those spots were booked up for 3 months. So if we left, we couldn't go back for 3 months if we decided to return the following day. And those managed isolation facility spots have now increased in terms of the requirements, and you now have like a 5-month waiting list for us to go back. So we're not going back anywhere fast. So we knew when we made the decision to travel, it was almost like a one-way ticket out of
later.
there. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And at that point, we said, okay, well, we know relatively nothing. And we have to fly into Mexico City because that's the major entry port. We had to fly via Istanbul.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really long flights.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we arrived in Mexico City. We decided to book ourselves a central hotel, and then just so that we could get a feel. I mean, we didn't know much in the line of Spanish. We didn't know anything really. Yeah, so we stayed in a very nice hotel on the main road in Mexico City. What was
The
it
one
called?
with the golden angel on.
Yeah, Independence. I think
Yeah.
Independence Avenue or
Which
whatever.
is quite central,
Yeah.
and we could walk
And-
wherever we
Yeah,
wanted
you're right
to.
in the middle of everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, and we just decided to walk everywhere as far as we could. So we visited markets, got pickpocketed, visited the
Oh,
parks.
wow, that was quick.
Yeah, pretty much this first or second day. And we were warned not to go to this particular market, which is quite dodgy. I think it was Sonora Market, where the witchcraft
Okay.
stuff is with all the live animals. And they said, don't go there. And our guide that we had hired for the day also said, don't go there. And Ellie said, I want to go. So, needless to say, that cost me a new mobile phone. But yeah, for the rest, I think maybe give Ellie a bit of a turn just to.
How'd you like Mexico City? What did you think of it? Where'd you go?
I originally coming from South Africa, which is deemed a third world country, and if you have ever been to South Africa, you'll know that yes, it is a third world country, but there's a lot of it's very modern as well. And hearing about Mexico being a third world country and landing in Mexico City, and especially the area that we were staying in, we were absolutely blown away by the buildings, by the immaculately kept gardens, by the fact that it was so incredibly clean, walkable. I honestly, we were blown away, weren't we?
Yeah, especially the city centre was immaculate. It was
one of the most
unbelievable.
beautiful cities I've seen in my life, and I've been in beautiful cities, you know. I've been in really beautiful cities all over the world, and that just blew us away. We actually said, we have to go back. There's so much to do there. We simply have to go back once we're a little bit more street smart, and we're going to feel more comfortable doing certain things, which we certainly wasn't when we arrived there.
Yeah. Wow. So, what stood out the most?
I would say the big park in the middle of Mexico City with all the sculptures.
Chapultepec. Huh?
Yeah. And the museums and all that sort of thing. It's just on a scale that we haven't seen anywhere that we've
and
really
those
been
big
to.
bridges to walk over the motorways or the highways. We walked for miles and miles and miles. We were still a little bit skeptical or worried about eating street food. So
we did try it once or twice.
Yeah.
And my stomach stood up a little bit better than yours, but it seems to have passed.
Yeah, but we ate most of our meals in the restaurant, I think, where we stayed in the hotel. But yes, it was just so big and so vast. We once took a Uber to a massive shopping center on the outskirts. It was. Can you recall what it was called? It was just absolutely massive. I have
all
never
the
been.
high-end shops and stuff. I can't think of the name of it right now, though.
Yeah, but it was so vast and so big, and having been to very, very big shopping malls, this was just mind-blowing.
It was like something out of Vegas or Los Angeles. I mean, massive scale, like 6 floors.
And so modern and so beautiful and so clean, but so upmarket, I must tell you that.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So, how long were you in Mexico City?
Only just over a week, and like we said, it really wasn't enough time. There's a lot more for us to discover, and we're definitely going to go back at some point. It's just that our accommodation was booked at that stage at Puerto Vallarta.
Oh, you now, how did you pick Puerto Vallarta to go to?
Yeah, so it was either a question of Caribbean side or Pacific coast side, and I think at that stage we were a little bit concerned about the sargassum.
Oh yes, yeah, the
on that side, yeah, the seaweed,
the nasty seaweed.
Yeah, that's it. And then we said, okay, well let's go to Puerto Vallarta. We've heard lots of good things. We've seen lots of videos and that sort of stuff. And it looked like a good place to start our journey.
Okay, all right. So when did you arrive in Vallarta?
23rd of August.
23rd of August.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Roughly 2 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So how'd you find a place to stay? Where are you staying right now? What are you doing?
we basically booked a hotel online when we were in Mexico City. On the
Booking.com, the specials, the last minute specials.
Oh, okay.
And that was on the beachfront or on the Malecon. Yeah, a relatively inexpensive hotel. It was also very daunting for us to fly with a domestic Mexican airline with our, at that point in time, zero Spanish. And knowing where to go and what to do. And we had a lot of luggage, more luggage than one would normally take on a domestic flight.
Yeah.
So we had to pay for extra luggage and that. So it's quite a challenge. And then arriving at Puerto Vallarta airport with all this luggage, a huge amount of luggage to actually think about how we're going to get all this stuff into town with a taxi or whatever. But it's actually quite seamless. If you just go with the flow and book a taxi inside the airport. Everyone on these Facebook pages and they're always concerned about should they take a taxi and should they Uber, and then the people say walk over the road and you can get an Uber there. There's really very little difference in the price of a taxi or an Uber when all is said and done.
In the end, it's pennies.
It is. It's nothing. It's no money. 10, 20, 30, 40 pesos is not really money. And for the convenience of just taking a taxi, book it inside the airport, bang, off you go. Next minute you're at your hotel.
So you were there with your big stack of luggage and no issue.
Yeah, no issue at all, yeah. So we had a lot of, I know I had a lot of concerns. Not worries, but you always have this nagging thing. You don't know what to expect because it's all new to us. We're not used to this.
Okay, but also saying that Russell's the more conservative one between the two of us. I'm the one that'll take chances and that'll go into dodgy places.
Hence the pickpocketing.
Yeah, the pickpocketing.
Yeah,
and
so we have to compromise a little bit because I constantly want to venture into areas and he constantly wants to hold me back.
Yeah.
But we compromise and he goes halfway.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's it's a nice median road.
Yeah.
All right. So how long did you stay there? Are you still in the same place?
No, we stayed in that hotel for a week, which was enough time for us to just get a feel for Puerto Vallarta in terms of the lay of the land. We basically went walking every day, up and down all the streets, having a look around, seeing where the pubs and restaurants are and where people gather and where there's music and that sort of thing. And we found an Airbnb, which was a small studio which we booked for a month.
With a little kitchen.
With a little kitchen, which was ideal for us. We could cook some of our own meals. And that gave us enough time to look for longer-term accommodation, which we've now subsequently found in Amapas or Conchas Chinas, which is a very short walk into the romantic zone. And we've booked that two-bedroom unit for a 12-month period, and we'll be using that as our base and be traveling throughout Mexico and returning. Yeah,
we're hoping to.
Yeah, well, that is the plan. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, and obviously, when you were out looking for a place, how did you find the prices in the area?
You want to talk?
everyone wants everything. They want be close to the beach. They want a sea view. They want space.
They want a pool. They want a deck.
They want a deck to have a barbecue on. They want everything, and they expect to pay nothing for it. And we started with our budget very low. And what we saw was okay, but we wanted more. And then we went to see a place. We had one agent, and we contacted a few agents, and they showed us a couple of places. And then there was this one agent that says, okay, she has a place in Conchichinas, because we were really not bothered what we get, whether it be a spacious studio or a 1 or 2 bedroom, we didn't mind. Obviously, if we had a 2-bedroom, we could accommodate some friends who want to come and visit us. Well, I don't know in COVID how many is going to come and do that, but we're hoping, we live in hope. So she took us to a complex that had 2 pools, that had a studio, that had 1 bedrooms, that had 2 bedrooms, that had everything available. And we had a choice of about 5 or 6 that we saw on that day. Yeah. And we immediately decided on the highest one, which is 132 steps to the top.
Oh, you count.
No elevator.
You count.
I count steps. I do that. And it has the most magnificent view. It's not modern. It's very traditional, but it had
Mexican. We like that though.
Yeah, it had everything that we wanted. And we've been staying there now for 23 days, and we love it. We absolutely love being there. And we've made a lot of friends, and it's good. Life's good.
Yeah. Well, after you get to the 105th step, and then you go, oh, I forgot something. That can get a little bit hard.
Yes,
so,
that has also happened.
I believe that. All right, so you've had a little bit of time here to explore and to check it out, because you people are pretty amazing that you actually come here, pick it out of a hat, here we are, and then all of a sudden you're here, and now you're going to be living here for a year. So you've learned a little bit about this town. So let's talk a little bit about places to eat, what places you like, talk maybe a little bit about bars too. So if you've got a favorite breakfast place, or maybe 1 or 2, you got anything going on there?
Freddy Toucan.
That was quite good. Yes,
that was really good.
And their service was really good.
The service was impeccable. The food portions were good. The value for money was good. And it's only one that we've recently discovered.
Barry, but I must also tell you that I'm a late sleeper. Russell rises very early in the morning, and I sleep late, so we usually miss breakfast. So it's usually brunch. We have 2 meals a day. Usually brunch, a big brunch and a light dinner, or a small brunch and a large dinner. Okay,
all right. Yeah. So let's talk about lunch and dinner places.
Yeah.
How about a lunch spot or a brunch spot?
Okay, so... Okay, there are a number, but Margarita Grill.
Yeah, Margarita Grill's
has
my
become
hangout.
our sort of home base.
Yeah, I just like the vibe
because
there.
we live,
it's so vibrant.
We live just up the road, and we walk past it nearly every day. We always ended up stopping in there for 1 or 2 drinks, which normally became
7
4 or 5.
8.
Yeah,
it happens.
And their food is not bad at all. Their ceviche. Fresh fish ceviche was brilliant. Their tacos were good.
And very importantly, some of the best friends we've made in this town, we've met
friends
there.
We've met a
It's
lot
a
of
great
people
place
there.
Yes.
Yeah. That
There's
bar
there's
right on the corner.
always a vibe.
Yeah. There's always a
And it's music we recognize.
Right.
So, I'd suggest that anybody coming to Puerto Vallarta would need to make a bit of
definitely my
effort to get
favorite
there.
place.
Yeah,
Very
definitely.
good. Yeah.
There's a very nice restaurant right next door to that. I'm just going to check the name for you. We ended up there one evening, and they had some live music. And at that stage, we'd probably been there about a month. I was all tacoed out and really needed a good steak. And I had probably the best.
You went to Decantro.
Yes. Yeah. The best piece of prime rib that I've probably ever eaten. Yeah, with asparagus, and some grilled baby potatoes. It was absolutely to die for.
Lovely live music there as well.
Yeah,
The service was just excellent. The ambiance, everything was gorgeous there.
One thing that we can say is we used to eat out fairly regularly in New Zealand, at least once or twice a week, and we've actually been very, very pleasantly surprised at the sheer number of restaurants. But then again, all the restaurants that we've been to, we haven't really had a bad meal.
No.
Everybody has been super friendly. The waiting staff and that have been really attentive, and I think obviously they value the tourism industry and that sort of thing. So they've been well trained to focus on pretty much your every need. So no bad restaurants at all.
Yeah. And even with our very limited knowledge of Spanish, if you just we learned the most important phrases, and to me the most important phrase is probably dos cervezas por favor señor. As long as you know that, or donde está baños, that's also an important one. As long as you just make an effort, they actually try and teach you, and we try and learn a new phrase every day. It's hard. At our age, it's not easy. We are on Duolingo, but we're getting there. And I think just the fact that we're making an effort, are really changing the attitudes of the locals and making them even more friendlier than what they usually are. And they are very friendly.
Yeah. They like it. They like it when you try and when you speak their language.
Sure.
Yeah.
How about dinner? What kind of dinner spots you like?
That place on the beach, that was the best.
Mixology was really, really good.
Yeah, that was
on
excellent.
the beach.
Oh, that's part of the Playa Los Arcos complex. That's the upstairs.
That's right.
Where
yes.
they got a pool and
Yeah.
or where they got a little place to dip your feet.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We love
There's
that.
some really nice spots there, and the
and
view
the-
is obviously to die for with the sunsets and that sort of thing, and the fireworks. In the early part of the evening, 9-ish.
Which was also a lovely restaurant? That Si Senor going up to the cross, walking up to the
That
cross.
one in the gardens.
That one, yes. That was absolutely stunning,
I don't
as
know
well
if you know
as the
the
Si
restaurant.
Senor on the Malecon.
Yeah, when you walk up, when you go to the lookout in Cinco de Septiembre.
Yeah.
There's a Si Senor Gardens, I think it's called. It's absolutely amazing.
Yes, and the people are lovely.
Very, very, very good.
Yeah, and they've got a big macaw bird walking around all
Lola.
over the place. Lola, yeah.
A tame macaw. She walks all over the place
Yeah.
Oh wow!
around the restaurant.
Yeah, Si Senor has been a good staple up there. And actually, up there is kind of like a little bit of a restaurant row there. They've got some fancy restaurants up there.
Yep.
Any others that you like?
Pubs.
Right now, when we were staying in our Airbnb for a month, absolutely the door next to us, literally a meter away from us, was a mixology bar that was run and owned by two ladies. Elixir.
Mixology bar, yeah.
Mixology bar. It was wonderful. I would walk in there, and they obviously got to know us, because every time when they opened up, we were sitting on the steps outside having a drink, and they invited us in. And I would just say to the ladies behind the bar, whatever. You mix whatever you want to, and there was not one disappointment. They were fantastic, all the drinks, and just the whole show to make the drink was unbelievable.
Really creative drinks with
smoke bombs and
all kinds of techniques and that we'd never seen before. Yeah, really. I mean, the actual creation of the drink was something to behold.
Yeah, and every now and then she would make a cocktail for someone else, and there would be a little bit left over, and she would pour it for us and say, "Here, try this. This is on the house." We love that.
Yeah.
And we became quite good friends. We're actually still planning on inviting them over for dinner or something. They're not open on a Monday and a Tuesday, but the rest of the week you have to go there. It's very small and intimate, and it's lovely. You simply have to go there.
Ah, fantastic. How's their English?
Perfect.
Well, when we arrived there, we had no Spanish, and
we managed perfectly.
And they also taught us
they
quite a bit
taught
of.
us a few phrases.
I'm going to go over there and talk to them.
You have to. That's really a must go.
Fantastic. So that's a great bar.
Yep.
Any other bars that you like?
There's another very interesting place that we went to called Q. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
It's also it's hard to describe, but it's basically probably about 5 or 6 blocks away from the actual Malecon, and it's 1 or 2 streets north of Basilia.
Okay.
Very interesting concept. It's like a central courtyard with a pub and restaurant, and all the surrounding buildings that form the courtyard are artist studios.
Culture.
Yes,
yeah.
That's
sure,
it.
Sure.
Yeah. Really interesting.
The food there is excellent.
The
as well.
food looked amazing, and also the beer prices were.
I think they were 25 pesos a beer.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. When they brought us the bill, I said, "No, something's wrong here," and they said, "No, that's right."
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
culture.
very good value.
Beautiful bar too.
Yeah.
That mosaic tile bar is crazy.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
All right, those are all great. All of those are great suggestions, and I got to go over and check out the
Elixir Mixology.
Yeah.
All right, let's go out of town. You've had time to take trips. You like to travel, so I'm guessing you've taken day trips, right?
We've taken a few day trips.
Okay.
Probably not as many as we would have liked, but
Yeah.
we basically just pacing ourselves. What we find is if we take a day trip, we normally make a good day trip out of it. So we tend to need a day to recover once once we wake up the next day.
These are fun people.
Yeah. So the first time, we weren't quite sure what we were doing, so we took an Uber to, for example, to Mismaloya, not really knowing what to expect. And then we actually figured out after 1 or 2 Uber trips that the local buses are so inexpensive and so easy to use. Everybody is helpful in terms of telling you, which one to take and where to get on, where to get off. They stop almost anywhere. You just put your hand out and they stop. They cost literally nothing. So we've been using them to go to a lot of places. And the whole trip itself on the bus is an experience. It's mixing with the local people, and
we got on one bus and there was we were being serenaded by a guitar player.
Yeah, you get traveling minstrels or whatever you want to call them, musicians. They just board the bus and play a few songs for tips, and then hop off a few stops later. And very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah,
extremely interesting. Yeah.
And some of them are really good.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. The lead guitarist for Tres Cuartos, which are now something. Now they're calling themselves something else.
Yeah.
Luis, he was picked off a bus.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, no, there's some awesome talent here.
Yeah. Another place that we went to was La Katrina Cantina. That was our first venturing out in the evening. We were a bit scared to go out in the evening still, because they say they don't walk around after hours in the dark and so on. And we went there, and I think the owner there is called Bill. He's a lovely, lovely man. He made us feel so at home. The show was wonderful. The show was for free. I never had a tamale, and he brought me tamale to taste before I actually ordered it. Mezcal, I've never had mezcal before. They brought me mezcal and they taught me how to drink it. A most enjoyable evening. We were so looked after there, and we certainly want to go again. And it's a lovely vibe. If you're ever in the area, it's you never know what the show might be, but La Katrina Cantina, excellent place to go.
They have a view, right? No?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think that's the only one.
Okay.
I think that's the only one. And it's about 2 or 3 streets north of Basilo Badio.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you've been to Mismaloya.
Yes.
Yeah, Mismaloya.
Where else
Yeah,
have you been?
Mismaloya was a very nice trip. And we just basically had something to eat at like one of the really mom and pop restaurants right at the end of the local restaurant row.
Uh-huh.
Very interesting. They were so happy to see.
I think we were the only customers
I think we were
there
probably
the
the
whole
only
day.
customers for the day, and they just went over the top to make us comfortable and feel special. Other than that, we did a fishing trip.
Fishing charter with Viking charters.
Viking charters,
Yeah.
That was a really
That was
really
an
lovely day.
excellent
They
day.
took us snorkeling out at Las Animas and also at Los Arcos.
Los Colomites.
Los Colomitos.
Colomitos, yeah.
And then, the fishing didn't go that well because somebody brought bananas on the boat, which I believe is not supposed to be done. But anyway, we'll go again. Also, a really nice perspective of seeing the land from the sea. Traveling all the way back, we traveled really close to the
shore.
The shoreline, and the guys on the boat pointed each and every little settlement and hotel out and.
What
that
was
sort of thing.
nice? What was
It was
nice
really,
is
really
that
good.
they give you 6 hours, and they will go wherever. If you see a place and you say, "Ooh, that looks nice. Can we go closer?" Then they go, or they will say, "Do you want to get off here?" Or here's some good snorkeling. Or it was just the day is yours, and you can tell them where to go. You know.
The other trip that we did was we took the bus through to Boca.
Yes.
And then we took a little boat trip around the corner to that small little beach.
Colomitos.
Yeah, Colomitos Beach, and the
the restaurant on the rocks.
That was super.
The Ocean
That was
Grill.
super.
The
Yes,
Little Grill.
that's the one.
Yeah.
The
That's
food,
the one.
the food was amazing.
And the place itself
You
is
had-
spectacular.
You had those tacos with the smoked swordfish.
Yes. No, it was tostidas.
Was it tostitas?
Yes.
Okay. But it was smoked. Was it
It
sword?
was beautiful.
Yeah. And I
What'd
had
you
the
have?
fresh mahi. That was amazing. No, the food was to die for there.
But
Really,
the whole
really
venue,
good.
the whole setting
Yeah,
is
the setting
is
is
so
amazing,
stunning.
yeah.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, I love it there.
And
It's just
then-
it's the greatest place to sit and eat, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Any other day trips?
Yeah, we've done one up into the like a ATV or a Razor side-by-side ATV day trip up into the Sierra Madre Mountains along the dirt tracks. Stunning scenery, lots of nice big spiders. Ended up at a tiny little restaurant next to a natural waterfall.
Tequila
That was
tasting.
that was probably the best burger that I've had in the last year.
Really?
A beef burger. Yeah, the patty was. I'm really critical when it comes to meat. I'm a red meat man. I have to have red meat, and that was a really good beef burger
And
patty.
I
It was
probably had
awesome.
the best guacamole there that I've had in the whole of Puerto Vallarta
Yeah,
as
and we
well.
had the Michelada drinks, which is also something new for us. Interesting mix. But and a really informative guide. The guide that we had was a brilliant guy. Funnily enough, I was quite blown away because when he started speaking to us, he had a really strong American accent, but he was obviously Mexican. And he basically was born in Mexico and grew up in LA for like 20 odd years, and he's just recently moved back to Mexico. So
Smart man.
English wasn't a problem.
His Spanish was a little bit of a problem, but he was coming
his
on.
Spanish was a bit rusty.
Do you remember the name of the company?
I think it was just called Vallarta Tours.
Vallarta Adventures.
Vallarta Adventures, perhaps.
Yeah. They're just on. They're actually just off Basilio Badello. Yeah.
And the guide was Sergio. He was
Sergio,
excellent, so good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. All right, so day trips are great.
Yeah.
You'll do obviously more.
Yeah, no, we
Maybe
plan.
we'll talk again and we'll talk about where you've been.
we plan to go to Sayulita and.
Yeah, the furthest we've been so far was Bucerias.
Yeah. So
And we got on the. We
took a
tried to.
bus.
We tried to get on the bus. We read up about how to get on the bus, and there was only Spanish people staying, Mexicans standing in the row. And I said to them, "How do I get to Bucerias?" And none of them could understand. and she explained to me how to say
Bucerías.
yeah. So I have to think about that every time when I say the word now. But we got there, and we got there with public buses, and it was fun, and it
we
was
got back
great.
with public buses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
again,
enjoyed it.
so cheap, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So cheap
So
and
cheap.
easy to use.
And it's
safe.
exciting.
And don't be
It's,
scared to use them. You know,
yeah.
what's the worst thing that can happen? You can get lost, and you can call an Uber or an
Right.
in-driver.
Absolutely.
Or you can take another bus back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll just see more. You'll just see more, you know?
Yeah, and you got all the time in the world,
Yeah.
for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had a word of advice for someone who's coming here for the first time, what would it be?
If a guide and the hotel staff and everyone that you meet tells you not to go to a place, don't.
Okay.
Excellent.
But on that note, Ellie and I were really nervous coming here. We growing up in South Africa, you were exposed to a lot of violence and hijackings and break-ins and all this kind of thing.
Violent crime.
Yeah, violent crime, and it was ugly. I mean, there was gunshots was a daily occurrence. People getting shot and killed and that sort of thing. Moving to New Zealand, we were basically in a bubble for 12 years because absolutely nothing really happens there. Coming to Mexico, we were pretty nervous because you hear all these stories in the news and on social media platforms and that sort of thing, and you think, oh, this is going to be like the Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West. It's really not. I think so long as you are aware of your surroundings and don't go into areas that you wouldn't normally go into, even in your home, you'll be absolutely fine. The people here are amazing. They're so friendly and helpful. I don't think we've ever really felt.
Stay away from illegal stuff. Just do what you would do as a sensible person.
That's it. Yeah, and yeah, just come and enjoy it. It's
There's so much to enjoy.
so much to see, so much to do, so much life to live, and so many wonderful, friendly people. It's
But when you book a place, make sure it has an aircon.
Yeah, especially during this time of year.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
We
yeah.
forgot to say Cafe Roma, where we are now at the moment.
that
We
We've got to
stumbled.
actually say that.
Yeah, we just stumbled across it. We're here at the moment. This is our second time here, but the first time we were here was on the day of the hurricane.
Hurricane Nora,
that
yeah.
must have been something. You have a front row view.
We actually sat at this very table, just closer to
when the rain started. Yeah.
when the rain, and we asked the
it
guys here.
started
We
pouring.
said to them, "What do we expect? We've never been in a hurricane." And they said, "Well, if you want to stay here, we've got enough beer, we've got enough cervezas." And they said, "Just make sure that you are elevated. You know, you are up in the air and so on." And
But yeah, fortunately, we left sort of late
Just-
afternoon, and we
just
went
as
back
it
to
was
our hotel on
starting.
the other side of the river, and then that's
and we
when
were
the
sitting on
majority of
our
it happened.
balcony while the hurricane happened, and we were sitting there having a drink, and we looked at each other. We actually looked at each other and said, "If this is a hurricane, yeah, okay." We can stay in hurricane land, you know, we don't mind that. And then about a day later,
saw
we
the damage
saw
the following day,
damage
yeah.
that the river did when it overflowed and so on.
I think we were just lucky in the area that
and we
were.
were blown
Oh,
away
yeah, sure.
that it did the damage that it did, because from where we were sitting, it was a normal rainstorm for us. You
I
know?
think very interestingly enough, that evening, most people in town had no idea it was happening along the
Sure.
That's pretty much where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for the people who were along the river.
Yeah, that was devastating. Yeah.
Any words of warning for somebody?
Words of warning. You're going to get scammed. You're going to get...
Check your change. Always get a till slip.
Yeah,
And check
it's-
your change. Check what they charged you and check what they give you
yeah,
back.
It's actually something
Every
we've
time.
seen quite often, and very often in places that you wouldn't expect it, like in an OXXO. Especially if you're paying with a big bill, they might
Try to pull one on you.
forget to give you a 50 change or whatever, and then when you ask for it, it's always very close at hand. But it's it's not big money, but it's just something
if you
need to be
get
aware
good
of.
service, tip well. These guys do a great job. They're always friendly. If you got good service in a place, tip well. Be generous.
I'd go with that as well. Yeah. And then that's not
wear sunscreen.
Sunscreen and
insect
like
repellent.
Insect repellent. I live in slops and shorts, and my legs seem to be magnets for mosquitoes and anything else that likes to attach itself to skin.
Yeah, lucky you, huh?
And another thing, when you walk next to the river, look up. And you will see the most beautiful, they're just stunning, the iguanas that's in the trees, and they are massive, some of them. I love them. They're my favorite animal here in Mexico, well, from the animals that we've seen here, but they are spectacularly beautiful. So please, look up. Don't just look at the river. Look up in the trees and scan the trees, and you will see many of them.
Right. And when you are looking up, stop walking.
Yes, stop walking. While you're walking, look down at your feet.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Very, very important.
Yep.
Is there anything I've missed? Is there something maybe that we haven't talked about?
Yeah, don't be so scared. We were very scared. Don't be so scared. If you maybe at dusk you're going to walk past someone that looks a little bit dodgy, go to the other side of the street. But don't be scared to explore. Go into places. People are friendly. A very small percentage of people all over the world have bad intentions. The most of them have good intentions, so don't be scared. Go and explore. Do some things. Get lost. Try different things. Eat different things. That's the only way you're going to find out whether you like it or not. Don't be scared. Go and explore. And that's good advice for us too.
Yep, absolutely.
For you, Russell.
Yeah.
Go and explore. Don't be scared.
Yes, dear.
Yes, I love you too. Russell, Ellie, from South Africa via New Zealand, and now you're here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I hope next time I return, you're going to be here too. I know you will, because you're going to be here for an entire year.
Yeah.
So I look forward to meeting with you both again. I want to thank you both for coming on the show and sharing your experience with my listeners. I truly appreciate it. It's very, very great information for everyone.
Thank you,
our
Barry.
pleasure.
We loved it. We
Thank you.
enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russell and Ellie. Aren't they sweet? Don't they have the greatest accents? I just love how they talk. Anyway, Russell and Ellie actually have gotten wheels, and now they have visited many, many more places along the bay and throughout Mexico. They are truly adventurers. I have pictures of Russell and Ellie and some of their adventures, actually, in the show notes. You can find them at www.PuertoVallartaTravelShow.com. Okay, well, that should do it for today. Next week, stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us a message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him right from his website. Remember that this is a value for value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you're going to use someone else, so do it, really. And when you do take one of these tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, and his revitalized happy hour board and more. I have links to all of those in the show notes, so take a look. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe. And give me a good review if you would, wherever you happen to be listening to the podcast. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. In fact, share it with a friend. That's the best way to do it. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to go have a look there. I have links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more, all right there in the blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already, all right? Well, thank you. Make sure that you get your tickets to Rise over on February the 20th over at Teatro Vallarta. Go and check out the show notes for links for that. Thank you, Eddie Rodriguez from American English Tree. Thanks to our special guests, Ellie and Russell. Love you, too. I'm looking forward to having a few drinks together when we get back to Puerto Vallarta. Oh, my God, that'll be great. Hey, and thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino, perno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río, cuando todo está en calma, pronto cae la noche, brillas Puerto Vallarta.